Hello, time for a new clip show, 2025 edition. I went through the list of tested chargers and picked some of the top performers. This represents some of the better electrical performers that I found while looking at a tiny fraction of what's available on the market. Your choices may be very different than mine because the market is huge and everyone's needs are different. I'm also going to add a future section talking about what's on the way too. There are links in the description, but probably search is best to find something specific. I'm going to skip all the descriptions of what charging is and what the terminology means. Check out the 2023 general video for some background information on USB charging. I buy all of these. There are no sponsors on this channel, at least not yet, and no mid-roll ads on the new videos. And I have literally gotten one thing for free, but it wasn't sponsored or featured and it wasn't a power adapter. Damn, I'm stupid. I need to sell out already. I'm going to end up in the t-shirt business. There's an affiliate link which earns me a couple percent but costs you nothing extra if you're buying on Amazon already anyway. I know I need to sign up for some more programs. It's in the description as well as links for more information. Many thanks to my patrons and channel supporters. The detailed data is on Patreon, or in this case a list of picks and some discussion. I use the data from the web as an assistant in picking power adapters. Typing in a power level or adjusting the sliders to find the appropriate grouping of adapters is fairly easy. Then sorting by power in. There's really not much else to the site at this time, but the data is online. The All Things site will have the top picks up soon. Okay, time to get into some chargers. The first category is smaller chargers, so essentially 5 to 29 watts. These are generally looked at as devices that cannot charge everything. Larger batteries or devices that need higher voltages will often not work with this category. It is an important category though, because they are cheap and generally more reliable because they don't get too hot. Also, most people charge phones or headphones. In general, this size charger is going to work with that market. Maybe not at the maximum speed, but it will work. Every charger that makes this list also tests okay for leakage current, most noticeable is the tingling feeling you get from touching your laptop. Each has a safety listing, a mark of compliance that indicates the device poses less risk when being used, and finally, all these devices have to meet the Department of Energy 6 ratings, which is a standard for how much idle and how efficient they have to be during operation. It's hard to pick one here. There are so many cheap chargers that it basically perform the same. Then there's the absolutely gigantic market of even cheaper ones that aren't even worth taking out of the package. These are the whack-a-mole, unknown brand name junk, but 10 for $10 kind of thing. But at 20 watts, you start to get out of that market, and you are around a 1C charge rate into a device like a phone anyway, so battery life concerns are a minimum at this power level. So, for all of you looking for slow charging, 20 watts is probably the target charger. Fast, but not too fast. For this year, Apple 20 watt is still in, and the Belkin 25 watt with PPS is the choice for some more modes of charging options. The Apple charger has a decent market size, and it's a good adapter with proper compliance and testing marks, and there are millions of them out there. Very highly rated, very high volume, and it tests well amongst peers. The Belkin 25 watt is a choice for more modes of operation. There are numerous adapters from other brands in this category like Aohi and Satechi and Anker, and many others that perform very similarly. One thing to note is that as adapters get a little smaller, they get less efficient. So typically 5 watt adapters are 70 to 80% efficient, so I avoid them. 20 watt adapters can hit 86 or 87%, and the next category generally optimizes things at even lower power levels. They can do better. 20 watts is the lowest size charger I would get based on what's available today, and many brands have dropped their 20 watt charging options. The next size category is adapters ranging from 30 to 59 watts. This category starts to get into the ability to maximize phone charging speed, charging some laptops, as well as handling multiple devices at once. So charging a phone, watch, and earbuds becomes possible. I do find that this range of charger will get a little used by me because they can be small and efficient. It would be nice to see some more adapters in this range that have, say, fixed 5-volt ports for watches and headphones than a fast port for a phone. The most common sizes are 30 and 45 watts for this category, so no surprises that this is where the winners will be. The choices here are IKEA and Google, still with the addition of the Apple and some others. There are so many options. So starting with 30 watts, I would choose the SyncWire, but it looks like it's not available anymore, and Apple and Google are more expensive for that end of the market. At 45 watts, the IKEA is still a reasonable budget option, but the Google 45 watt is a solid choice for only only a few dollars more. And for future device compatibility, since if Apple released this adapter, it's probably for a reason, the Apple 40/60 covers the expensive end of the market. So that's about it for the lower end of the charging market in terms of watts. It's a pretty comprehensive list, and there's a lot to like. As mentioned, all have to have that safety listing and generally meet the requirements of the energy efficiency standards to make the list. Apple, of course, is known for making lasting chargers, so the value there is not in breaking after a year or two, but you can buy 3 Ugreens for that price. You can go cheaper and get some real junk for far less than that, but don't expect much. Plenty of videos on YouTube showing the dodgiest side of things. Next is the intermediate size chargers. These are from 60 to 95 watts. Generally, these chargers all perform the same, so it comes down to personal preferences and modes of operation. There are a few new chargers out that do add some things in these areas and also topped out on the efficiency chart, so there are some new chargers in this category. In general, chargers here are very popular. They do better with multiple devices, but they still lack the power to be able to maximize charge speed for multiple devices at once. Of course, power factor correction, which is a method of improving AC power quality, is off the table. At this power level, you can lose a few percent of that top level efficiency in the real world. If you have a lot of devices, this becomes greater and can interfere with other devices. The most common size here is 65 watts, or at least it used to be, but it keeps creeping up and now it's 67 and 70 watts. I have this brilliant new marketing idea, 76 watt chargers. It's going to change your world. There are thousands of options in this category. It is hugely popular, as the cost to watts seem to hit an ideal point for many people's apparent needs. This year, the Amazon is out. The IKEA 65 watt adapter is the best budget pick. It's big, it's heavy, but it's a good adapter with lots of modes of operation. The Google 67 watt is another good performer. This adapter has the new power standard adjustable voltage supply or AVS mode as well, so you get some future proofing. The Apple 70 watt adapter is also stunningly high efficiency. Both the Apple and the Google are quite high on the price list though. Just recently tested, but a generally fully featured adapter is the 70 watt 3-port nano adapter. This adapter is generally more broadly compatible with devices and includes a USB-A port still. The cost is better than the Google and Apple options. So 2025 did see a fairly marked improvement in efficiency in general in the 60 to 70 watt USB adapter range. I'd still pick the next range of adapters over these though. Time to get into some larger chargers, 96 to 119 watts. These chargers are my favorite category and, well, some stuff has changed here too. Although, slowly, the chargers I still use aren't available anymore, so I have to pick something else. In general, 100 watt chargers start to add more features and the ports can work more effectively together. They generally are still fairly compact and lightweight, but the extra watts means they can achieve a next level of functionality. Of course, they're all just different enough and only a couple can make the video. The key point here is that they can also hit the USB power limit for the 20 volt mode. My budget pick is the Novu 100 watt 3-port charger. The other chargers are the Anker Nano 1-port 100 watt charger as well as the Apple 96 watt charger. Starting to notice a theme with the Apple chargers. They all achieve good efficiency. Their cost might be a little on the higher side, but because they last so long, they make the list. My choices of the last year, the Anker A2343 and the Baseus 100 watt GAN 3 desktop, are both not available anymore. The new Anker Nano at least matches the efficiency. In general, the Anker Prime 3-port, the newer one, and the new 100 watt charger with a display are both very close in performance. You lose 12 volts, and many won't stay on for even an hour, so trade-offs are what you get. Everything else in this market is basically a clone of the Invisi or Minix, and they all lack PFC, so the efficiency is affected enough to make them not really great choices. So, not that I wanted to change the choices here, but the lack of availability of better choices forced the change of choices. Big chargers are the next category. This is when heat starts to be a major issue and efficiency really matters. I am capping these at 179 watts, because there are even more bigger chargers, and they get their own special place. These chargers are made to charge more than one device or charge one large device as effectively as possible. This includes the 140 watt chargers, which is another market hit point, as the first mode available, which can reach the limit of the extended power range, or EPR mode of 28 volts. There is really still only one choice here if your goal is to have an adapter that performs and lasts. The Apple 140 watt adapter is the best one. It's old now, but it's still a good adapter. It's expensive, but you are paying for premium components and the reputation that the adapter will last. It's a little larger, but it's a 140 watt adapter that doesn't quit after 30 minutes. It's highly efficient and supports the 28 volt EPR mode. I still use my Satechi 165 watt charger, but it has high idle power consumption, so this doesn't meet the energy efficiency standards. It's also a picky charger. I keep a laptop plugged into it so it never really idles. In terms of the anchor choice, the 140 to 160 watt with a display are fine. They struggle from what a lot of power adapters suffer from with displays, which is when they're active, the idle is at a watt or so, and with certain cables plugged in, they can be up to 2 watts pretty easily, so not great. The 160 watt adapter is impressive efficiency-wise, but only if you're going to load it down. But then it shuts down or overheats after 30 minutes, which is kind of a lose-lose. The Anker Prime 120 watt and 150 watt aren't really available anymore. Pretty much everything else in the 140 watt range is pretty bad, and I've tested a lot of them. At least that's what I would say if I actually didn't test a couple this year and find some decent ones. The Belkin 140 watt is pretty heavily on sale right now and quite capable and high efficiency. So if you can get this one on bargain, it's not a bad choice. Another one that often gets overlooked is the Aohi 140 watt Mag Cube, specifically not the youth one. This one does perform well also. This one does have the 12 volt mode if you need it. This one is also a good sale price right now. So if you can get that 140 watts of decent performance at a lower price, great. The last category is going to be the monsters of USB charging. Anything 180 watts and up. There are some new additions here. These chargers must meet expectations like high efficiency and appropriate handling of USB protocols. These are leading edge devices. Here, the Ugreen is yet again the biggest one I've tested at 500 watts and is the first I've tested with the 240 watts on one USB port of operation. But the jury is out on its reliability. The 300 watt had a lot of issues. It did get reissued and I haven't tested the new one yet, but it's still too unreliable for history's sake. The Anker 240 watt A2343 is the choice for larger power adapters for me. It gets hot, but it stays on and it can deliver high efficiency without too many gimmicks. It meets the basic criteria I look for in an adapter. It is only 140 watts maximum on one port, but that's fine as that is still the generally highest performance of portable devices. The newer Anker devices are still less efficient electrically, but the 200 watt Anker 6-port charger is often a very good discount, so this is the budget option for these higher power chargers. The other high power adapter I like is the 180 watt Framework laptop adapter. This charger has future functionality to go up to the 36 volt mode. Its high efficiency puts it at the top of the list, but it does have some compatibility issues. The Apple 140 watt adapter is similar, so it comes down to footprint and personal preferences. There will be some larger chargers coming, which is the next topic. So what's next for USB chargers? The future of USB charging is hopefully going to incorporate both better applications and uses for some of the larger USB chargers that are coming out, or are out now, but I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. With the exception of Framework, I generally don't see announcements of what's coming from power adapters. Kudos to Framework for keeping people informed. I would like to see some smaller USB chargers that have more capabilities, particularly better efficiency at lower charging levels or more chargers with the Anker ability to split power more dynamically, but not tied to a data collecting app or ecosystem. No, really. Wish in one hand. More AI, of course. We do all need that. But seriously, the incremental improvements have been great in the last several years thanks to some technologies like gallium nitride semiconductors that themselves are smaller components, but also allow other components to get smaller by allowing for higher switching frequencies. But also many companies have done great work with integrating solutions into fewer chips, making an even larger difference in size and allowing easier manufacturing, which reduces costs. Efficiencies have remained fairly steady, but idle consumptions have fallen. Not that it's going to happen anytime anytime soon, but the Department of Energy does have proposed level 7 power supply rules. They are very strict. Some of the upcoming adapters are going to be the Framework 240 watt versus the Delta 240 watt USB-C 48 volt adapters. Both are here. Of course, this will get compared to the Ugreen 500 watt USB adapter. What an absolute beast. And that one really does 500 watts total. That will probably be out in January. I do want to start incorporating more power banks again, and I still have several to look at, as well as some other interesting things. Some general videos about charging rates and batteries in general. Another part of the market is the sketchy side of town. There's always going to be a substantial part of the market that is slinging junk. I usually do a few videos a year looking at absolute junk. There were a few champions of crap this year. The usual suspects are still selling the absolute dodgiest, from alphabet soup brands that pop up and disappear at a rate that no one can control. I'm sure that will continue. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like the buttons. I don't think that's quite right. There's links in the description. Yeah, clip show accomplished. Again, level 4? Okay, bye.